I saw a meme that said that we are a depressed generation that is hiding behind alcohol, memes, bad jokes, and all that. And I absolutely agree. So today, on this segment of Our Views, we're going to be discussing something very important and something very crucial to us finding healing, and that is forgiveness. So I posted the question on our social media handles, and I asked, what drives you to forgive, and when is it time to let go of things? So ladies, that is what we're discussing today. And joining me on this panel are my colleagues, the usual suspects. I don't know why they call themselves suspects. Who is looking for you? Who are you hiding from? And that is Shivan Auma and Sandra Cope. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, it's Sarah. Very cold today.
It is.
But you know what? Don't let the energy go down, you know, let's keep this hyped. It's going to be a very healing, I want this to be a very healing, an empowering moment for all of us. I was actually going through my Facebook. How I came about this conversation is I was going, when Facebook sends you, memories and status updates that you put up a long time ago. So this is a post that I posted in 2011. And I remember it so vividly because I was going through a heartbreak at the time. Yeah. And I was trying so hard to forgive my ex, and it was refusing. It had refused. I needed help from the from the family members online. So ladies, what drives you to forgive? Or you have not yet forgiven people. There's also that. Exactly. We can unpack that.
Exactly. Exactly. I beg your pardon. I think what would make me forgive someone is if they are actually, if they're actually sorry for what they have done. I do not know how I would measure that, but I have battled with forgiveness for some time now because I'm like, but I didn't deserve what you did to me. Like, why did you do that to me? However, if the person is sincerely sorry, then I would probably think of forgiving if they're truly
How do you know that that person is sincerely sorry? Because there's a certain amount of disrespect that no apology or explanation can ever make you forgive.
I think it's not even forgiveness. It's just, it has happened, you did it to me. Okay, you have said you're sorry. I have just let it go. Like, I will always remember, this thing where they say forgive and forget. There is no way you can forget. Mm-hmm. There is no way you can forget someone that either raped you or broke your heart or stole your man. Like, you cannot forget. How do you forget that thing?
Those ones who stole our men, we know you. Hey, we know you. What about you, Sandra? What drives you to a point of forgiveness? Have you forgiven? Let me just start by asking, have you forgiven
before?
Yes, I have, and it took me a very long time. Forgiveness is a process. So I think for me, forgiving is not about saying you're forgiven someone, but when someone asks you for their forgiveness, I look at the actions. The actions are the ones that speak. Are they willing to change? Are they willing to mend their ways? Do you see effort there? Does it show you that? Yeah. So that can lead me to forgive. But as you say, there are some things that can happen to you, and you're like, these are irreconcilable differences, and you're like, I can't forgive. But I have gotten to a point in my life, and I think it comes with experience and age, that I can be there. I can forgive something that you would think would be unforgivable.
Yes.
Because when you think about it, forgiveness is forgiveness. God forgives us also for the things that we do. So, and his forgiveness of us flows through our forgiveness of others.
Yes.
So forgiveness is forgiveness at the end of the day. I think you just, and you need to understand what made me very okay with this is that sometimes you don't forgive people for them. You forgive them for yourself.
Yes.
Because living with bitterness is a very, very bad thing. So do it. If you can't do it for them, do it for yourself.
There's something, I have struggled with this for a very long time, forgiving. And there are a lot of people and things that I have not forgiven. So I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she is a life coach. And so she asked me the question. I told her, I have a problem, and I find it very hard to forgive people. Then she asked me, do you want to forgive to ease the situation, or do you not have, or do you don't, or sorry, or she said that, or you don't mind not forgiving people. So I said to her, I don't mind not forgiving people. And then she said, Sarah, there's a very big problem with that, because you're holding onto a lot of resentment and so much anger. And then I told her, I have grown comfortable with this resentment and anger. And she's like, darling, I don't even want to tell you how many things are wrong with that statement. But before we go into that, why a lot of people have difficulty forgiving is because they experience different types of traumas. Now, trauma is an experience that you have faced that has either brought you to close to death, or it's a loss of a loved one, or just loss in general, or any abuse or violence that you may have faced. These are just some of the things that may cause you to be put in a place where you are traumatized and you carry that. And when you hold on to trauma, it sometimes is difficult to let go of it. And by letting go, that means forgiving whatever happened to you. And a general population survey conducted in 24 countries showed that more than 70% of respondents, I beg your pardon, experienced a traumatic event, and 30.5% had experienced 4 or more events. And also, like I said, trauma is a shocking and dangerous event that you see or that happens to you. And during this type of event, you think that your life or others' lives are in danger. And going through trauma is not rare. That means almost everybody has. And about 6 out of 10 men, that is 60%, have experienced trauma. Whereas 5 out of 10 women, that is 50%, that is 50% of all the females in the world have experienced some type of trauma in their lives. And we're now going back to our main focus of discussion, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness involves a decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of revenge. And the act that hurt or offended you may always be with you, but forgiveness can lessen its grip on you and can help free you from the control of the person who harmed you. So basically, forgiveness is not for the other person, it is for yourself. To help you let go of the burden or the grip. It's more like saying, I'm making peace with this situation. It happened, it happened. But for some of us, it is not easy, like for you, Shiva.
But you see, the thing about this whole, yes, like you said, it's not easy for me, but at the end of the day, even the person who hurt you may not know. Or they might be living their best life. And what are you doing? You're in your bed crying, you're sulking, and they have no idea that they even hurt you. Like some people can want to be that I don't even know what word is. Some people can want to be those kind of people.
Yes.
They have hurt you, but they do not care whether you're okay or not. So while you're busy suffering and going through anxiety and having depression, this person is actually not aware that they hurt you. And even when you tell them, they're like, oh, really, that hurt you? Sorry about that. And they'll casually say it. Now, if you're some person who is probably waiting for some sort of apology and they do not apologize to you, then you're definitely going to feel on a low. So most times it is very important that you forgive for yourself, have peace within yourself. And you know what? She did what she did, but I have chosen to let it go.
Yes.
Karma will catch up with them.
Well, psychologists generally define forgiveness as a cautious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group of people who have harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. So forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning or excusing offenses. So ladies,
how do you for forgiveness? Like they always do something.
So now let's talk about steps to recovery and healing and actually finding forgiveness within yourself. And before forgiving yourself, first of all, how do you identify that you have a trauma? How do you know that there's something that is still bugging you? It could be a childhood trauma, something that your parents did or say to you. It could be from a past relationship. And a lot of people, especially in our generation, are dealing with relationship trauma where they experience one heartbreak and now they have built up this concrete wall with electric barbed wire around it that nobody else is allowed to cross. And it is now bringing up, one, addictive bad behavior. People are resorting to drugs to numb their pain, or alcohol abuse to numb their pain, or others are getting into sex addictions. Will Smith also, he did confess and reveal this during his memoir. He released a memoir late last year, and he did say that after he experienced his first heartbreak, he got into, you know, destructive sexual behavior, and he had a sex addiction. So he tried to just slip this woman out of his life, basically. So now we are in a place where we get into habits and behaviors, and we think that that is just who we are, and yet we are not really reflecting and understanding that perhaps our traumas, our heart is causing us to be that way.
Definitely.
So before you heal, how do you identify that one thing?
I think you have to track back. You have to track back to if it is your childhood, because some people have like they have like issues with belonging. Yeah.
Yes.
So they feel abandoned all the time. Like if their parents left, one of their parents left, yeah, and they have abandonment issues. These are the people who tend to like cling onto a relationship that is dead on arrival.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're asking yourself, what am I doing here? Everybody else can see it, but you just have this fear of being left. Probably you don't even want to be with the person, but you just don't want to be alone. You've seen the people who jump from relationship to relationship. They are not alone even for a day or two. They just need to be with someone. So I guess you need to take a deep dive and see what your triggers are, and also speak to the people who are very, very close to you, because they will tell you. There are some things you know about yourself, and there are some things other people know about you that you don't know about yourself. So that can really be an eye-opener. And then you can start, when you start from there, you'll get to understand who you are. Then you can start the process of healing and how to go about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think for me would be how you can actually tell that you're going through a traumatic experience is when you find yourself in that situation again and your anxiety goes up, or you start feeling some type of way. For example, if you are in a relationship, or if you have been raped before or defiled, if any man came and even just touched you at the leg or even hand, you would start to freeze. I have friends that have been through that, you know. Physicians or psychologists will say that usually women that have been defiled, or I beg your pardon, usually teenage girls or women that have either been defiled or raped will not have either a flowing relationship with their partner, or may not even want physical touch. Others would say, if for example, for most girls, for their parents, especially their dads, if their dads did not care about them, or if their dads were men, they would have a perception, and they can't coordinate well with the men or even with the opposite sex. So it goes back to saying the first sign of trauma is actually when you find yourself in that same situation. Your anxiety goes up, you start feeling some kind of way, all your guards are up, the red flags are screaming in your head, and you're saying you need to run, yet sometimes there's actually no reason to run. So those are some of the ways you can actually tell.
Exactly. And there are 7 stages to identifying, or 7 processes that you go through when you're dealing with trauma, and that is before you actually find the guts to forgive yourself. And number 1 is shock and denial. When you lose your job, you get sacked. When COVID happened, we were all in shock and denial. When your marriage ends, shock and denial. When you lose a loved one, it's shock and denial, like this can't be happening. No, it hasn't yet sunk in. So that place of confusion is the beginning of your stages of trauma. And then the next one is pain and guilt. You're so angry. Sometimes you have survival guilt, that how come they died and I stayed? I should have gone and not them. So for instance, if you lost a child, for instance, you'd be like, it shouldn't have been my child. They should have stayed. I should have been the one to die. You understand? So you go through so much pain and guilt. Then the other one is anger and bargaining. You're angry at everybody. You're angry at God. You're lashing out. And then the next one is depression. You sink into a place of where you are now dealing with destructive behavior. You either have a bad eating disorder, you have insomnia, you're not sleeping. You get whatever your addiction may be. It could be drugs, it could be whatever thing you're using to cope with the situation. And then the other one is the upward turn. Now when you start to slowly realize that you have a problem.
Yeah.
And then you go into reconstruction and working through it. Now you start seeking help, you now start talking about it. Okay, perhaps sometimes you may be forced into an intervention with loved ones and family, and they tell you, yo, you have a problem, we are going to deal with it. And then the last one is acceptance and hope, and that is where healing and forgiveness comes in. Now, I do understand that for some people, you may go through this, there's no time. There's no definite time for people to find healing or find forgiveness. For some people, it's weeks, others it's a month, other people it takes years and years and years. And all you have to do is just be patient with yourself, and also have people around you who are absolutely and completely supportive of you.
That's true.
I think it's also very important. You mentioned something very important, that you need to take your time. First of all, go through that pain. Like if you've been broken before, if you have been fired from work, if you have probably lost a loved one, if you have lost your job, it is okay. It is very okay to be sad. It is very okay to go home and cry. That is when the healing process starts. That is why I do not take it lightly, or I do not like it when people say, why are you crying? Or men don't cry. Or why are you making a big deal? Like, it's not like you dated for an entire 4 months or 6 years. People break up after 10 years of marriage. No, that's being insensitive. It is okay to feel the way you're feeling now, and take your time to heal. It is not a mandate to forgive. No, when you're ready, let it go. But if you're not ready, it is okay to feel that way. Like, be patient, because the healing process takes time. I mean, you will not lose your loved one today, and tomorrow you're up and about smiling. So also it's very important that the people around you are supportive. Like, do not expect the person who is going through something to just be overly joyed. No, they will have their moments. Be there with them. But also choose the right people to be with. Like, in that moment, who do you want to talk to?
I want to share 4 steps to actually finding true forgiveness, and not of the other people, of yourself. Sometimes you hate yourself for allowing that person to do that thing to you. And so the 4 steps to forgiveness is, number 1, uncover your anger. Do not be ashamed of your anger. Talk about it. Many times where we find ourselves very resentful and very angry is because we are ashamed of the trauma or the hurt that was caused to us. So uncover that anger, identify it, and look that demon in the face. Number 2, decide to forgive yourself first before the other person. And number 3, work on forgiveness. Work on letting it go and being okay that it happened to you. And the 4th one is release yourself from emotional prison. A lot of us have, feelings of vengeance and revenge, and just hating a lot of people, and we end up becoming, just detrimental to ourselves because we are still emotionally imprisoned. And how you can counteract that is by being logical and rational about the situation. So I just want to read feedback that I got on this question that we posted on our Twitter. And Saidat says she finds forgiveness after feeling incomplete and a tense drive to forgive. She said, I only let go when I realized I'm consumed with thoughts of this person who is probably not even thinking that they did me wrong. I can't suffer on their behalf, so I let go. So ladies, final thoughts to someone who is suffering from whatever pain right now. What do you have to say to them?
Well, mine would be take your time. Take as much time as you want to heal, but also make sure that the person who hurt you knows. Like, if you're not happy with the way someone treated you, tell them. They might not react when you tell them, but you telling them also, you have told them, and I have told you. It's up to you if you're sorry, but as long as you have told them. Like, tell the person that you hurt them, but also it's very important that you get someone to talk to. Do not allow a pain or a situation that you went through change the way you treat other people. Make sure that, because for very many people who go through tough situations, I have had people say, tough skin, tough skin. I feel like people who say such things, anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But it's very important that you don't let the situations change the way you treat other people. Continue to be kind. I have come across people who treat the opposite gender like they are totally nothing. Why? Because one man, or maybe their parents, who is a father in the home, did not treat them nicely. So not everyone deserves to pay for someone else's past mistakes. So treat people equally, treat people fairly, regardless of what you've gone through.
And what about you, Sandra?
I think don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Take one day at a time and learn to forgive yourself, because sometimes you walk around with all this bitterness and anger because you're upset with yourself for so many things. So it all starts with you. Be kind to yourself and forgive yourself. Learn to forgive yourself and let go and move on.
Exactly. And for me, final thoughts is I'm still learning. I'm still learning to forgive people, and that is, I'm going to be very honest about that. I'm not going to sit here and sound all righteous and say that, oh yes, I forgive, I forget, and let Mary. No, actually how I deal with it is I completely cut you off, and it's like you never existed to me. You're basically dead to me. Like, we can be in the same room and I'll not even acknowledge you. You are that invisible to me. But I am working through it, I am talking through it, and I am, you know, trying to find mutual grounds. For me, I'm still in the healing process, and you may also still be in the healing process. But just like Sandra said, don't be hard on yourself. And it's also important to reflect onto why you can't let go of that hurt. Why does it hurt? And I know it hurts because it mattered, or that person mattered, or that job mattered, or you trusted that person and your trust was broken. Trust is not something that is easy to mend after it has been broken, but it's a working process. And acknowledge that you are, you know, trying to work towards forgiving yourself, forgiving that person, and forgiving that situation. Yeah. And that is all I had for you in this segment of Our Views. But this conversation does continue. Please head on to our social media on Twitter and Facebook. Please let me know, have you forgiven? Are you forgiving? Are you healed? Or do you want, or is there something that you'd like to let me know? We can also talk about it, and I would also be very glad to recommend my friend who you can talk to in case you are struggling with forgiving whoever hurt you. And that's all I had. Sandra is coming up with our next conversation on Our Views. This is Sunrise at Sea. Don't blink.